Oh, it's the old kidnapped and held hostage by some railings card. That's good. That means you are going to get a new puppy. Like, it's not going to be that, is it? Well, actually, we've looked into it, and this symbolises, this card is called the Eight of Swords, and it symbolises feeling trapped and restricted, perhaps by your own convictions, self-imposed barriers that can be shed with an open mind. Do you feel trapped? Are you in a state of anxiety and fear? And can you remove the blindfold to become free? I'm interested, I suppose, in the intuitive reactions one might have to tarot, particularly as I move into a more clearly delineated spiritual space with a more clearly ordained path, i.e. a lot of Christians would say that tarot and even yoga is a kind of heresy. What's your personal view on that? Do you still use stuff like this and the I Ching? Do you still look out for symbols and signs as you move further down a particular pathway? One thing for sure that when you get something like that, it does serve as a tool for reflection and personal analysis, because I do feel that if I removed the blindfold or let the scales fall from my eyes, I would see more clearly what the path is. I read today, I think, on Hallow, and it's an app that I use for meditation. It's absolutely beautiful. That if you focus on God, that is all you have to do. God will do everything else. Now, you hear stuff like that and it sort of makes a bit of sense, doesn't it? And you think, well, all right, so what am I actually worried about now? I'm worried about this attack. I'm worried about this aspect of my family life or this aspect of my personal partnership. Like, how do I focus on God? Well, I suppose what that means is I have faith, I trust, I remove the blindfold and see that the pathway of God is the only pathway for me. God is in charge of my relationship. God is in charge of my working life. And I know what God's principles are. Service, kindness, faith, trust, hope, charity, gratitude, acceptance, surrender. So if I'm not doing that stuff, oh, wow, is that 8 swords? Let's just say that one weren't there. Then, if I'm not doing that stuff, then no wonder I'm feeling anxious. What do you think about that? And are you happy with hybrid modalities where you're able to meddle in occultist arts? I mean, is that a pentagram? I'm not sure what kind of star that is, but there's some questions. Are you happy to...
All right. So speaking of those practices, this was posted a day ago. So I'm assuming this is like post-baptism. Yeah, it has to be. Right. So post-baptism, talking about tarot cards, talking about can you still dabble in these occultic practices, and then taking this message that it's supposed to say, like, are you trapped by this, and this? And he's saying, yes, I am. Oh, this is true. It's like, well, you could just, I feel like you could just meditate and sit with yourself in a journal and say, how am I feeling? And then you could answer that question and not have to pull a card. And then you can, there's Bible verses that can help you get to these truths that he got to. I don't think that he should be dabbling in tarot cards. I don't think any Christian should be dabbling in tarot cards. And I have scripture to back it up for when Derry's done.
There's lots of Christians who posted in his comments, about that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like this video, honestly. It seems very genuine. Like, I have met a lot of people who have given their life to Christ and have then had questions like this. And he's posing a question, right? He's not like making an argument one way or another for like tarot cards or not tarot cards. Like, he's asking a genuine question as an intellectual. Like, he's saying, as I move into a more rigid space, like a more rigid religious spiritual experience, right? He's a Catholic now. As I move into that, is there room for different spiritual modalities? Like he says, like, can I take meaning and can I take like beauty from different aspects that people have of getting to know truth? And the thing that he references is tarot cards. And it's pretty clear he's not super familiar with at least that tarot card. Maybe there's other ones that he's familiar with, but like he doesn't know like the pentagram on the back. Like he doesn't know the symbolism in the tarot card. So it's not like he had a big sheet like printed out in front of him that said the name and what it represented and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Use it all the time. But he's asking a very important question that I think helps come to Christianity. Christianity has so much meaning and truth and richness and beauty behind it. Can I still take truth and meaning and richness and beauty from the world and from other religions and from other sources of people trying to find truth? Can I still like marvel in those things? And that's a great question to ask, right? It's the exact question that a lot of people are going to be asking of him. Are you a new ager? Are you like a universalist kind of guy now? Like you like Christianity, but like you're going to involve all these other things in it? And he's putting that question out there for us. Is that what he's going to do? We don't know yet. He doesn't know yet. He's posing that question to us. Is that what I should do, or is that not what I should do? And I don't know if he reads the comments or whatever, but one thing he says in the last video, not the one we just watched, but the post-baptism video, is that I'm not perfect, right? And so this is a not perfect person who doesn't have a lot of knowledge of Christianity, starting to learn, and I'm sure, he's going to be under some kind of priest, right? And I'm sure the priest is going to see the video because it's pretty popular, or something like that, and they're going to have a conversation about it, or his wife is going to have a conversation with him about it, or another brother or sister that he goes to church with is going to have a conversation, with him about tarot cards or whatever, because this is a pretty viral thing that's happening, at least within Christianity it is. So I know this conversation in his mind, because he's an intellectual, is going to be front of his mind probably, and for the people around him are probably going to confront him on it and ask him like, well, what do you think? Can you add these things in? Mm-hmm. And there is a sense where there is a lot of truth in a lot of other religions. There's like truth you can find in aspects of tarot cards. Like you said, like you can find a lot of those principles in the Bible. But that doesn't mean that the source of that truth is like from God. The enemy loves to twist the truth, right? Mm-hmm. And try to make us feel like a partial truth or a partial goodness or a partial beauty, right? That's what deception is. Deception always has some element of truth in it, and then it like slips a little lie in there. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of bills that we have today. There's a good thing that it's advertised, like we're gonna send more money to schools or whatever it is, and they slip in this thing and that thing and the other thing, and behind it you don't see, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Deception is everywhere, and that's the same thing for other like religions. Like they try to get a little bit of the truth, but because they don't have the source of Christ, all they're really doing is borrowing. That's so good. Yeah. So a couple of verses come to mind. The first verse is, let me see where it is. Acts 19:19 talks about a bunch of these people becoming Christians who were pagans before. And it says, and a number of those who had practiced magic arts brought their books together and burned them in the sight of all. And they counted the value of them and found it came to 50,000 pieces of silver. And so how that applies here is that tarot or tarot cards are magic arts, right? It's what people in Wicca and all that New Age stuff use. And so I would say as Christians, that should be our response. If you come from a background of New Age stuff, when you become a Christian, you should 100% get rid of it. Now, here's where the grace is. Here's where the patience of the Lord is. He just became a Christian. Mm-hmm. Like God is long suffering and God is patient and working in him. And if you are a Christian and you're seeing this and you're like, oh, he's not genuine, this or that, let me ask you this question. If you've ever dated someone as a Christian, have you ever asked, how far can I go before I'm sinning? Because that is this, that's no different, right? He's asking the question, how far in these other practices could I go in this more restrictive thing? And we're like, oh, you can't at all. That's not okay. While some of you watching the video might be fooling around with your boyfriend or girlfriend in ways you shouldn't, right? So I'm just saying, like, don't come for Russell Brand if you're doing that type of stuff too, But and if you are fooling around like that, I want to also encourage you, and something I want to encourage Russell Brand in too, which is I just read this morning, Galatians, because this is why I thought of it, right? This person immediately in the comments, you guys can't see it, but said, wow, right after your baptism, talk about leading people astray to false ideas. Bro, it is very clear that in the Bible, Leviticus 19:26 and 31 tell you not to practice divination or fortune telling. Now, here's the thing. What are the chances that Russell Brand has read Leviticus? Probably not very high. Low. So low.
Probably not very high at all. And so I'm like, dude, it's not very clear to Russell Brand. And so it's like, guys, come on now. Like, give this guy a break. He got baptized yesterday, or this video was posted a day ago. He got baptized maybe less than a week ago. At least he told the world less than a week ago. And so for this one guy, I'm like, come on, man. And this other guy who seems, he's got a check mark next to his thing. He commented on the baptism, was like, oh, I just got baptized. Or he's like, this is so amazing. Welcome, brother. And he just said, in a very, I read it in more positive light. Jesus and the new age are not compatible, brother. Very gentle, very kind. And this is why we need to be gentle with new believers, right? This is what Paul tells the Galatians church. He says, brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourselves, lest you too be tempted. So when someone around us that's less mature in the faith is sinning, it's our job who are more mature to restore them in a spirit of gentleness. And Paul says, lest you also be tempted. So what temptation could seize you if you don't restore with gentleness? Pride, probably, like you think you're better than them. So you're all prideful, like, oh, what are you doing? I'm better than that. Anger, frustration, all that stuff. And so let's make sure that as we see Russell Brand doing this, we're like, all right, we recognize it. We're not going to affirm it's good, but those Christians in his life, those people who can speak in his life, can restore him in a spirit of gentleness.